yes.
How much time elapsed in between bringing him from his holding cell to the death chamber?
Any of us or me?
No,
We don't know when he left
Do
the
you know
holding cell.
how much time elapsed? How long it took to go from...
at 12:07 I wrote footsteps above. At 12:08 very fast. Hood over hairy man, noose tighten, he drops. So.
I started hearing a sound. I wrote down at 12:06 we heard a sound. And then at 12:07 Ms. Wood came to the microphone and told us that there would be no final word. So it all happened very quickly.
In following our meeting here, we asked about that. Apparently he was brought from his cell to the execution chambers where he was there strapped to the board. And he was held in place as the door.
But just to be perfectly clear, there appeared to be 3 points where correctional officers were struggling. They struggled to get him into position briefly. They struggled to get the hood over his head, and they struggled to get the noose into position. There was 3 periods where there was some difficulty.
I've got to say, I don't agree with your word struggle.
Okay.
I saw there was some movement, but I can't say that he was struggling.
What I mean is there was some difficulty in accomplishing those 3 things.
It didn't seem to be a lot of difficulty to me.
For example, the only thing that I saw was that he did look from one side to the other, but whether or not that was fighting the noose, I couldn't tell. In fact, it looked to me like he might have been looking over at someone. And then I did see a guard's hand go behind him, but I couldn't tell if he grabbed his hair or was supporting his shoulder or whatever. So we disagreed among ourselves whether or not there was a struggle involved.
The other thing... One thing that we haven't mentioned is that we didn't hear any sound from him, any words. And because we heard other sounds, sound of people walking, the sounds of the activity, I think if he had said anything, we would have heard it. Or if he had cried out in some way, I think we would have heard that sound.
Do we know that the PA systems hooked up and working?
Yeah,
we heard
Sonya Wood. We could hear.
But we could hear the other sounds of people walking, furniture moving.
Even without the PA system, we would have probably heard if he had said something.
And there was nothing.
The other thing, too, is because of where we're sitting and where they're actually doing the work on the top floor, it's a forced perspective. And added to a silhouette, it makes it extremely difficult to get an accurate picture of what is going on. And as professional witnesses, it places a burden upon us to give an accurate portrayal of what we saw. The people
you really had to crane your neck to see anything. It's directly
the people here are professional observers, and there is some discrepancy among us about what we saw. And it is in my opinion, it is not the best way, if you want to be absolutely certain about what happened, to have us below the place where the noose is being applied and to have it done behind a gauze curtain.
We're only guessing as to his demeanor.
Were there any complaints or comments like this during Dodd's execution that people couldn't really see, they couldn't really tell what was going on?
No, the major difference, as Terry cited, was the open curtain and the opportunity that the offender took to make a final statement. It very clearly identified who was making the
Beltry
statement.
Johnson right now
And,
at the State
then the
Penitentiary
silhouette,
in Walla Walla. Charles Campbell has been executed, and we have just heard from the witnesses who saw that execution. Charles Campbell did not deliver any last words, and because of that, the curtain was never drawn, so that the witnesses say they were only able to watch this whole procedure in silhouette through a gauze curtain. It made it very difficult, they say, to actually tell what was going on. We do know that he was dropped at 12:08 and pronounced dead at 12:14. Campbell reportedly was so weak that he could not even make the trip from the holding cell just around the corner to the gallows, and he had to be assisted and then strapped onto a board so that he would be upright and they could carry out the hanging. There appeared to be no real medical reason for his weakness other than that he was going through probably excruciating fear as he faced his execution. The witnesses say once he fell through the trap door, it was difficult to see again exactly what was going on, but there were no visible signs of any kind of pain or suffering, and so the conclusion of the witnesses here seems to be that it was a relatively quick process and that death came very, very quickly. As far as other witnesses who were watching, the family members were described as stoic, showed very little emotion, simply nodded to each other, sort of acknowledging that in fact this moment they had waited for so many years had actually taken place. The most emotion described was that of James Lobson's. He's the defense attorney who fought so hard to save Charles Campbell, and he had his head in his hands and appeared very distraught and left without speaking to anyone. So once again, Charles Campbell is dead. He was pronounced dead at 12:14. I'm Linda Byron reporting live in Walla Walla.
All right, Linda, thank you. Great job over a long period of time. Again, the execution at 12:08, pronounced dead at 12:14. And the overwhelming sense you get from the witnesses is they were critical of the process that allowed them to see Charles Campbell in silhouette, but not actually to be able to see enough to confirm, although they don't doubt it, but they couldn't confirm that it was Charles Campbell. They were critical of the system that allowed them to see or witness the execution only in silhouette, but that it was instantaneous.
Again, Charles Campbell dead tonight at officially 12:14. We'll have complete wrap